Hey, we are two Star Wars nerds, and today it's going to be a little different review of The Bad Batch. We're going to be talking about some problems we see with The Bad Batch. You know, we have been staying up till midnight every time there's an episode released and watching it, and honestly, we didn't have a drive-to last night, so we waited until the morning. So, we're going to talk about this, but you know what? Because of the time, you may hear our little baby just having some fun off in his little playpen right next to us. So, yeah, there he is. So, sorry in advance if you hear that, but let's talk about this. So, I am actually kind of losing interest a little bit in The Bad Batch. We thought episode 1 was fantastic.
Amazing.
So good. But every other episode has just kind of felt like a filler episode.
There's a slight progression of the story each episode, but it's not, I guess, what we were expecting.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like a baby step forward.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like a full step. Here's kind of my gripe, if you will, with The Bad Batch. I see inconsistencies with the strength of The Bad Batch.
Especially Wrecker.
Yeah, like in this most recent episode, you have The Bad Batch who fought an early iteration of Death Troopers, and they were just awesome in Season 7 of the Clone Wars, and then all of a sudden, they just get captured by slavers and overpowered.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like you pointed out, at the end of the episode, guess what? Hunter can take the same whip that took him down, and he can wrap it around his arm, and, it's no problem to him. And you have Wrecker, who was overpowered, and then boxing a Rancor.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, what do you think? I mean, to me, that just feels inconsistent, and it's just like a plot device used to progress the story. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the inconsistencies are just more so confusing to me. I'm like, well, is he strong or is he not? Like, well, kind of the inconsistencies are what bother me the most. Whereas the slow build, I'm still entertained by the episodes, but episode 1 was just so good, and it just put such a high expectation on all the others for me. And I guess the others aren't measuring up to the first episode, in my opinion. But with that, I don't know. I know it's like 15, 16 episodes, so I don't know if they're just trying to do like a really, really slow build, and then we're just going to get like our minds blown at the end, and then we'll look back and be like, okay, that was actually really cool. Because it's hard when you're halfway through the story to really see the big picture of what's actually going on. So maybe it would look different at the end when we have the full picture, but right now, I don't hate it at all. It's still entertaining. I just feel a little let down based off the first episode because like you said, even originally, I watched the first episode multiple times. Like, I loved it so much. And I still do. And there's not an episode of The Bad Batch so far where I'm like, oh, I hated it. Never want to see it again. It's just like, okay. So it's not like terrible. It's just, I'm like, I've seen better. Yeah.
And, for me, I agree. I don't hate the show, but I just see some problems. I don't know if I would go as far to call this a MacGuffin problem, but basically you have all of these things introduced that the Bad Batch really care about that honestly I don't.
Right.
Like, it's this same trope of we're going to a planet, we land, there's a little mission we have to do to free somebody, and then we leave. And of course, Omega always knows everything. And I think they're trying to set her character up, but they just even keep using like Wrecker holding his head. And it's like, yeah, you're very forward with that. I understand what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I think what they're doing is that worked in The Mandalorian. And in The Mandalorian, the action was so exciting for me. And I feel like what they're trying to do is they're trying to capture that same energy, but then also they're trying to capture the fan service.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Okay, we have some Return of the Jedi Easter eggs with Bib Fortuna, and whether or not that's the Rancor that was in Jabba's palace, whatever, people were saying, hey, maybe it is the Rancor and they changed the name. Maybe it's like the mom or something, or maybe it's just a Rancor that, we didn't see and it just died. But nonetheless, I'm like, really, that's all we have is some fan service and some little missions and some MacGuffins. Like, I want the meat. I don't want Easter eggs.
I do appreciate fan service, though.
Yeah,
to an extent, I actually do appreciate it. So I'm not necessarily against it, but if that's all we're getting, that's kind of where the problem is. I would like fan service and story that progresses forward. For sure.
Well, this is kind of thoughts we had on the Bad Batch problem. I think it's a story that's being stretched too far with not enough content and some teasers that aren't really moving anything forward. For me, honestly, I think episode 5 could have been left out entirely. We could have skipped it. I think episode 4 could have been left out. I think they are just a slow burn, trying to capture our hearts and capture our minds for these people, because I think something really devastating is coming at the end of this series.
For sure.
And I think they're trying to get us captured into Bad Batch, not as a group of warriors, but as people. So with that, we are two Star Wars nerds. Let us know in the comments what you thought of episode 5. Let us know if you see the same problems in the Bad Batch, or, if you completely disagree with us. We would love to have a discussion on this topic. At the end of the day, we love Star Wars, and we just want great Star Wars content. So we are two Star Wars nerds, and may the Force be with you always.